Hey everybody, it's the end of week 9. That's a wrap. This is the end of legislative session. So today we want to do just a rapid fire of all, 20, 21 issues that we worked on this year. So we're just going to go rapid fire of what the bill was, what happened. So let's start with some education bills.
Yeah, and remember why we're doing this is because we're advocating on behalf of families, and we want to make sure, because families are so important to the structure of a vibrant society. That's why we picked the issues we worked on this session. And so starting out, we're going to talk about partners in education. That expands a little bit of choice for and access for kids that want to go to an alternative school, private school, something like that. And so that passed early on, so we're happy about that. There were two bills. I'll give you the numbers, 1158 and 1206. Each of those bills would have harmed homeschoolers, and thankfully those were both withdrawn.
Then let's move on to some of the tech bills. So first of all, a prohibition on phones in school. This passed out of the Senate, came over to the House, where it was unfortunately defeated. The research is really, really clear of the educational outcomes going up when you take phones out of school. Another tech-related bill was App Store age verification. This was just said before, a child can download an app, they need parental consent because kids can't sign contracts. That passed out of the, where did it start? It started in the House, really good numbers, was killed on the Senate side.
In addition to the App Store language or legislation, we also had a bill on parental rights, Senate Bill 190. The idea there is to get after schools and healthcare workers trying to make decisions about our kids that really the parents should be involved in. There was some language around something called strict scrutiny. We got it through one of the chambers, but not the other.
Then on 3 different gambling bills, one was a video lottery increase, the other was a mobile sports betting increase, and the other had to deal with horse and dog wagering, or wagering on horse and dog races, One of those passed through, 2 of them were defeated. Again, those numbers were 226, 504, and 1058.
Then we had a bill that was basically designed to protect worship services from disruption, like what happened in Minnesota last week, or last month, and I was just down. Norman and I were just downstairs for a bill signing ceremony with the governor, so that's now law.
The bill we worked on was conscience protections for medical providers, the idea that a doctor should have the protections to continue doing no harm, never have to choose between their patient and their job, or corporate policy, things like that. That was unfortunately killed on the House floor.
And then let's see, so what else did we have? We had some birth center language. It would have improved the ability for someone to have a birth center in a rural area, and we were not successful in getting that past the committee. Another bill we worked on was debanking provisions, and basically there are some practices by largely the large banks that are denying banking opportunities for folks because of a political perspective, and that also did not make it past the committee.
A couple other bills, definition of male and female and restroom privacy. The one was some carve-outs from the legislation we were able to pass last year, protecting private spaces of shower rooms, locker rooms, etc. They came with a carve-out bill to say, well, this doesn't apply to music situations or theater or law enforcement or firefighters. It was all these different broad carve-outs, so we were glad to see that bill go down. The sponsor of the legislation and stakeholders came back to us and they said, okay, can we just do a narrow carve-out for when firemen or law enforcement are on duty? Maybe they're all in a gym because they're on mission somewhere, there's a fire. Like, can we do that narrow carve out because they're on duty? We just, there's cots in a gym or something like that, of course. So we were glad to work with the sponsors there to come to language we could all agree with, and then the bill flew through, which we were just fine with. The next was the definition of man and woman. This is one that we've said, we nicknamed it the What is a Woman bill. We were trying to get Matt Walsh here, but I guess he wasn't interested.
Yeah.
We were glad to see that one go through. It just puts all throughout state code a clear definition of biological realities of male and female. And then on the kind of moving to like the judicial system, there's the mandatory reporter concept here, where certain people are required to report certain suspicions they have. People wanted to add clergy to that list of mandatory reporters, and that really crossed a lot of state church boundaries and really misunderstood the problem at hand, and also what the solution is. It would have almost deputized pastors, and it would said the state put them in a position of saying, hey, pastor, we can handle this situation better than you can. So we were glad to see that one go down.
So another piece of legislation that we dealt with was what we call embryo reporting. It's House Bill 1182. And we suggested that for accountability purposes that there should be some tracking of that, some reporting of that to make sure that embryos weren't being used inappropriately or not cared for appropriately. And unfortunately that bill was also defeated in committee. So.
A few more bills. We'll close out on some more life topics. The first
These
is
are
clarifying our miscarriage, ectopic pregnancy laws. So right now in South Dakota, anytime a mother needs care, a mother's life is at risk, the doctors have clear permission to do that. But with the misinformation we've seen, especially with all the different campaigns and things like that, claims that, well, you can't get miscarriage care. Okay, well, we'll specifically write in miscarriage care. It was already allowed, but we'll add more clarity for doctors and laymen to read the statute. We're glad to see that one go through. Another one gives the Attorney General more tools to go after the pill pushers, we're calling them, those out-of-state people that are trying to flood our state with abortion pills. Gives the Attorney General more tools to prosecute. Then finally, two last ones. One would have added criminal penalties to forced abortive mothers, and we've written on why, our analysis of why this wouldn't actually save lives. So you can go on our website and read that if you'd like. And then finally, a fetal development video saying that schools should incorporate into their curriculum a short video animated showing fetal development. So that's a rapid fire of a bunch of the bills we worked on this year. For the full debrief from us and our allies, make sure to come to our legislative report events. Those will be coming up soon. Watch for details. But thanks for joining us again, guys.
Yeah, it was a good session. Thanks.